January 8th statement at the weekend, Cyril Ramaphosa, as leader of the ANC, essentially opening up the 2024 election year. He says, bring it on for any opposition party that wants to contest and feel that they can wrest power away from the ANC. But what's on the ballot this year? Corruption's on the ballot. Water, electricity is on the ballot. Housing is on the ballot. Finance regarding NSFAS and education, that's on the ballot. But is foreign policy on the ballot? South Africa, seemingly at the nexus of geopolitical issues at the moment. It's not just an issue currently at The Hague between Palestine, Gaza, and Israel. It also seemingly is a battle versus the global north and the global south. South Africa being very front and center of that particular conversation. So is foreign policy also on the ballot this year? Dr. Oscar Van Heerden, international relations expert, he joins me now. As I said, it's an election described as the most important since 1994. Lots and plenty of deep developmental issues in this country: crime, electricity, corruption, all these things that affect us as South Africans. But do you think that foreign policy is also on the ballot this election, Oscar?
Good morning, Lester, and to your listeners. Look, I think foreign policy has always been an important component of any elections. Usually government would want to concentrate on domestic issues. As you mentioned, issues of infrastructure, issues of service delivery, issues of electricity provision, water, access to water, and so on and so forth. But our government also at times reminds us, as a responsible member of the international community, what is it that we are doing on that front. I think people sometimes go a little bit too far in the sense of talking of Ukraine, Russia, and the peace mission from Africa that President Ramaphosa led to go and meet with those two countries and say, can we have peace and can we stop the conflict? And Israel, in terms of what they are doing in Gaza with the International Court of Justice and the genocide. But we also forget that South Africa as a country is also very active on the continent, where we have various peace missions in Mozambique, in the DRC, and so forth, and of course give some assistance to countries when they are struck by disasters.
The moral fight, the moral movement for a non-aligned world is led by South Africa at the moment, and that's noble. That's notable. I'm just keen on some saying that South Africa's active involvement as a voice for Gaza is speaking to constituencies in this country, and I'm going to zone in on the Western Cape here, that says, well, other political parties aren't fighting for a cause that is close to your heart. And some saying, well, the ANC government is pushing very hard to attract a constituency to vote for it in 1994, along with various other issues that I have mentioned. But do you think that is a campaign, an election strategy, as noble and important as it is? Is the ANC also taking opportunity of it?
No, look, if we have to be honest, Lester, that the truth of the matter is the ANC, in terms of its solidarity internationally, has always stood very firmly behind the Palestinians. The truth of the matter is that people in the Western Cape, particularly Muslims, have voted for the DA historically. Hence, the DA is in charge of the Western Cape. So it's the solidarity with the Palestinians and with the plight of the Palestinians in Gaza really has nothing to do with trying to win votes in the Western Cape. It's a principled position. The ANC has always been very steadfast in that solidarity campaign. Here today, we see Israeli government that is contravening the Convention on Genocide, the mass killing of women and children, innocent civilians. And the South African government decided to act and do something unprecedented, which is to actually take Israel government to the International Court of Justice. And I think it would be wrong for anyone to think that it's doing so because it wants to gain votes from the Muslim community within the Western Cape. In fact, that's not what is at play here.
It's very much a sentiment by many people, and I'll read you a message from one of our listeners. Good morning, CapeTalk. The South African court case against Israel is hypocritical and can only be seen as an election campaign. It's a thought, it is an idea that people have in their head, Oscar, to win over the Western Cape. This is paramount through the lack of action against the aggressor Russia, as there are no benefits in going against Russia for the war in Ukraine, but to side with the Muslim community in Cape Town to hopefully secure votes. Your analysis of that remark?
No, look, I think it's completely false and it's completely untrue. I've observed, Lester, that people try to make a comparison, but the truth of the matter is that Russia as a country has not given us any indication or intent of genocide in the Ukraine. They've not made statements that the Ukrainians are human animals, that the Ukrainians or Ukraine must be flattened, that the Ukrainians must be displaced and moved. They've certainly not had a blockade on food and water and medicines and so on and so forth. So even though if some people might argue that Russia is an aggressor and what Russia is doing in the Ukraine is wrong, it is just not comparable with Israel and what Israel is doing in Gaza. The truth of the matter is that the South African government, with this application at the International Court of Justice, has put out and has explained so succinctly why they are saying that Israel is committing genocide. The blockade in terms of basic services, water, food, medicines, and of course the indiscriminate killing, mass bombing, the flattening of Gaza, and so on and so forth. 2,000-pound bombs being used to carpet bomb the area. All of this is an indication that South Africa is acting from a moral and principled point of view with regards to Israel in Gaza.
Dr. Oscar Van Heerden, really appreciate your time, international relations expert.